Work smarter, not harder. If something is difficult, stop, analyze what it is about your approach that you could do better, or that you're not doing right. Sometimes it's not just our approach, but it's our thinking. What is it about my thinking in this situation that is making this more difficult than it needs to be? I say often, I'd say almost all the time, it is our thinking. As I've told you many times, anytime I'm working on a physical project and I don't seem to be making much progress, or the job seems more difficult than it ought to be, that is a really loud clue that I'm doing it wrong. I'm approaching the thing wrong. So I stop and I re-examine. I don't just continue beating my head against the wall forever for no reason. When I take note of the frustration I'm experiencing, that's when I begin to say, all right, I'm doing something wrong. This was my approach to escape an emotional disorder. So it's not just good for working on motors. It's, like I said, it's good for every aspect of life. But it was my approach to escape an emotional disorder. If my emotions were volatile, or life was getting overwhelming, or I realized I was walking around completely stressed out all the time, or I was angry a lot of the time, this was a really loud voice in my ear saying, you are overcomplicating something, or you're not approaching life right. So I would stop, take time to re-examine what I myself was doing wrong, or that I could do differently, that I could do better. The takeaway point is, just because I'm trying and getting nowhere, that is not proof that your objectives are impossible. Do you remember what the only thing it is proof of? That the way you're going about reaching those objectives needs to be adjusted. And do you remember what I said to you about making adjustments in life? That this is not something that is just a possibility. Whatever thing I'm trying to do, there absolutely will be the need for adjustments along the way. And that holds true for everything. So why would you get discouraged going along and then realizing I have to make adjustments? Well, I didn't expect that. Boy, that's frustrating and disillusioning. Takes the wind out of my sails. Boy, got to make adjustments. What's the point? That's not the right way to think. The right way to think is that as you go into any endeavor, right out the gate, saying to yourself, now on this journey, I will have to make adjustments. I do this on every backpacking trip. I set down a detailed plan of every day, the mileage, exactly where I hope to be, how much ground I want to cover, when I want to get into camp, and all these things. It never goes that way. Never. So no matter how detailed my plans are, no matter how airtight I think they are, I always have to make adjustments along the way. Because I'm expending so much energy in the mountains, I may get hungrier a lot earlier than I originally planned to stop for lunch. How flexible am I? Am I willing to, along the way, make adjustments and say, okay, my hunger's kicking in, my energy levels are dropping much faster or sooner or differently than I had originally planned for. Got to make an adjustment. Fellers, we got to stop right here for lunch. I need it. I'm hitting a wall. So it's that flexibility in every aspect of life. You can plan for a thing, but you got to be flexible. You got to be willing to make adjustments along the way, especially if you're not achieving your goal or making progress on a goal or an objective. That's not the time to throw up your hands and say, well, this is just a lost cause. That is the time to say, how could I do this more effective? How could I approach this thing more effectively?